When in 2013, there were only 2.2 million households connected to the grid.
Yeah.
3 years later, there are 4.6 million households. That's double the number. That's 2.4 million more households. You saw that from the statistics that he showed us this morning, that the consumption of kerosene has not gone down. So the population has not gone up that much.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this kerosene being used for?
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that we can assume it's being used for is adulteration. And you can understand, it's a tempting thing.
Mm-hmm.
26 shillings per liter differential between kerosene and diesel is quite tempting.
Yeah.
So at the same time, we know that there is a problem, health problem, using kerosene as a cooking fuel from a respiratory point of view.
Yeah.
And we've decided that it's time, we're becoming a middle-income country. We cannot continue to having the people of Kenya, Mwananchi, continue to cook with charcoal and kerosene. So we've decided to make LPG more accessible.
Yeah.
It's not longer fuel for the rich.
But it's still highly priced, even if you are to target the people living in the slums.
Yeah, but there is a plan to reduce the costs, and that's where we're getting to. The first thing we have to do, of course, is reduce or remove the taxes on LPG. I mean, it's going to take us at least 3 years so that you get to feel the effect. And the first thing we're going to do this year, I think you will see from the budget statement, is that the Treasury has put aside 2 billion shillings towards LPG development in Kenya. And one of the things that we're going to do is make LPG cylinders more accessible to Mwananchi. Because, not many people can afford 2,600 shillings per cylinder.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we can make it more affordable.
How soon will this happen?
Well, as soon as the money hits our account, then we'll go out and have a tender for cylinders so that they are more widely dispersed. And then next year, the following financial year, we'll have another 2 million cylinders. In addition to that, one of the problems has been obviously the cost of distribution of LPG. So we're using road, which is expensive. We want to move it onto rail. Build bigger storages in Mombasa so that we can bring bigger ships, and then we'll reduce the price even further. We're looking to reduce the price at least by 40%, so that more of us can begin to enjoy this fuel, while, as you know, by the end of next year, 70% of Kenyans will be connected to the grid. So that's where we're going.
Interesting numbers, PS. As much as you have done the VAT exemption, many had hoped for zero rating as the best option. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's a financial issue. I think we will get there eventually.
All right.
It's something that we can look at. Maybe we could have done it better, but it's something we can look at. But I think we can't ignore the fact that our first priority as the government is to the people of Kenya.
So the other issue, of course, around LPG is the fact that away from making it cheaper, there's also been the issue around the universal valve.
Yes.
That has been quite contentious because a number of oil marketers have sort of declined supplies from different kind of players with the pretense that they still have to stick to the same person who you have to buy from where you actually bought it in the first place, which is sort of affecting the industry. Any actions? Yeah,
it's a big issue because what happens is that, again, I go out and invest in 1 million cylinders and you have the minimum amount of 5,000 cylinders as a marketer. And the question of then you finish filling your cylinders and then you start filling my cylinders. So the universal valve has been, but the concept was well thought out because we wanted, again, Mwananchi to be able to, change the cylinder.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you bought it from. You're interested in the gas. And let the business people sort themselves out in the background. That was the premise at which we started it. Of course, it hasn't worked as well. We need to get through some of these teething issues. It's a thing called the pool, the exchange pool.
Yeah.
And the members of that exchange pool, again, it's a question of discipline among the business owners. And we'll be putting stringent measures to stop people, first of all, filling cylinders they've not invested in, and then playing by the rules. And once we do that, you know that we have a level playing field. You, the investor, can get a return on your money. You will be able to invest more and we will have a cheaper product for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are we likely to see stronger enforcement in terms of, we've not seen much coming through from ERC, and of course, is there also talk around price controls in LPG?
Not at this stage. I think, first of all, what we need to do is get the infrastructure right. We don't want to punish investors, and we also don't want to punish the mwananchi. We need to get to a place where we have a common user facility, where everyone can import and have a level playing field. That's the first thing we need to do. Once we do that, then perhaps we can introduce price control. But I think the first thing we need to do is get discipline in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in regard to the other development, of course, is oil exploration. Earlier on, we did see the Deputy Chief of Staff, Nzioka Waita, quite passionate, saying that 2016 July will start production. So actually, 2017. Sorry for that. How real is this?
Well, it's very realistic, because one of the things that people don't know, because we don't travel to Ngamia or to Lokicha, is that there's actually 70,000 barrels of crude in tank right now in Lokicha.
Mm-hmm.
So for us really to move the crude from there to Mombasa, there's not much work that is required. First of all, of course, we will need to bring in more wells into production. So we're going to start a new drilling program at the end of this year. And then a place to load the tank tainers. The rail, of course, is still functional. We have to repair the road so that it's accessible to heavy vehicles. And then tanks at the refinery, those are there. Mm-hmm. So it's just some kind of modification there, of course, to cater for our waxy crude, which requires heating.
Yeah.
And then the pipeline to the port, which exists, but now it has to be the reverse, because of course we used to import crude, now we're exporting crude.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do that. It's very realistic, and we've been working on it for some time. So now it's just to put the nuts and bolts in place.
All right.
Yeah.
So still keeping up with this, of course, we're talking about billions of shillings in investment. So far, how much has gone down in the various initiatives down in northern Kenya? And also talk to us about, Kenyans want to know, will we be refining the oil now that KPRL is no longer functional?
Okay. Well, on the road infrastructure, that we are going to do anyway. And that's going to be, I think it's budgeted about 3.2 billion shillings to put that road in place. The rail is an existing infrastructure, so not much is required there. And depending on the parcel sizes, there will be some investment on the heating. We have not yet quantified the amount. Mm-hmm. But all in all, let's say on road and stuff like that, about maybe 3.5 billion. But that's infrastructure that's going to be used by other people, grow the place, and business access in Turkana. Don't forget also that we're going to full field development. Mm-hmm. So those same roads will be used to move at least 1.5 million tons of equipment, rigs, oil processing facility, when we go to the 100,000 barrels a day. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So will all this be cost effective?
It will be cost effective.
Break it down for me. Of course,
why are we
already lost out to the deal in Uganda to have a pipeline come through Uganda to Kenya.
Maybe let's start with the genesis of that, what happened, mm-hmm. So that we put it into perspective. In 2012, we had an agreement with South Sudan for their pipeline to pass through Kenya to Lamu. It's all part of the Lapsit corridor. Yeah. In 2013, and by the way, this is before we had discovered our oil. In 2013, the Ugandans came to us and said, you are building this pipeline to Lamu. We would like to be part of this pipeline. Mm-hmm. So we said, well, in the interests of good neighborliness and mm-hmm. And don't forget, we also needed more barrels to make it more economic.
Yeah.
So we said, look, fine, let's do it together. And we then did a joint study ourselves with Rwanda on the viability of this pipeline. So all along, Lamu was the port. But of course, there were concerns about land. Land issues are big in Kenya, about security in northern Kenya. And they decided to go another route, mm-hmm. which is fine. In the meantime...
Which that is the government's narrative.
No, but that is the reality
All right.
of it all. In the meantime, we've discovered our oil. We are in the process of producing it.
Yeah.
And so we are building our own pipeline. And I think we've been having very, very good support. I don't know if you saw the article by African Development Bank in the local press a couple of weeks ago, and they are 100% behind it. Funding has been very well received, so we're quite happy with that. Our joint venture partners, the oil companies, are also prepared to put their money in, and we also, as Kenya government, we're prepared to put our money into the crude oil pipeline. So that process is ongoing. We've tendered already for the engineering phase and the environmental social impact assessment. And you saw the Treasury has put money into LAPSIT now, into the port of Lamu. So that project is ongoing.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to wrap up with your parting shot in terms of Kenyans have high expectations in regard to cheaper energy costs, cheaper petroleum costs.
Yes.
We did see in the month of June, pump prices went up.
Yes.
There's still the 8 shilling road maintenance levy that is yet to be effected.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like the future is looking a bit grim for the many Kenyans who rely on public transport.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at two things. You had asked me about the refinery. And now that the refinery is closed, what are we going to do? We have to ask ourselves, what is it that we want to achieve? And I think what we want to achieve, over and above just having a refinery, is cheap fuel. And this is what you're asking about. Crude oil prices have gone up, which is good for us, from a low of $27 per barrel to last week, $52 a barrel. So it's doubled, almost doubled. And we've not seen doubling of the oil prices. This is something that we need to look at. That's the first thing. Number two, yes, the prices have gone up a little bit, but Kenya still remains one of the most competitive countries in the world, thanks to our open tender system. So, from what I can see, yes, global prices will continue to rise, hopefully for us as Kenya, but not too fast. So we would like them to stay as they are now until we are ready to export our crude. Because, a lot of things come in. For example, when we invest in our pipeline, it's made of steel. As long as fuel prices are low, commodity prices will be low and our pipeline will cost us less money. All right. So I think, look, we're in a good position. And even those who have to rely on public transport, vehicles are cheaper. Because steel prices are lower. There are a lot of things that come into play.
All right, all right. Well, many thanks there, Andrew Kamau.